Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in less than 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, why President Trump is rubbing elbows with the wealthy. And Elon Musk agrees to a radical new type of pay. Plus, monkey clones and new iPhone features. All that and much, much more in less than 10 minutes. And hang out today after the news for 3 Question Thursday. We'll be talking about a big moon event happening next week, as well as a new plan to send astronauts back to the moon. I'm Erica Mandy. Today is Thursday, January 25th. You ready? Let's do this. President Trump is in Davos, Switzerland today for the World Economic Forum. He'll be speaking tomorrow. CNBC reports he'll be pushing his America First message, wanting investment in the U.S. This is the place where fancy people gather. We're talking billionaires, CEOs, world leaders. You get the idea. It's the first time a sitting president has actually gone to the event. Why? Presidents often want to avoid a perception of overly tight relationships with the ultra-wealthy. But President Trump doesn't really think that's an issue. He'll be meeting with leaders like the British and Israeli prime ministers, as well as business leaders. CEOs of 2 top U.S. banks already praised President Trump's effect on the economy while at the forum. CNN reports there's a lot of anticipation there about what President Trump will say tomorrow on Friday. President Trump will also sit down for what the Mirror calls the first international TV interview of his presidency. Piers Morgan will be doing the questioning, who now hosts Good Morning Britain. He used to work for CNN. The two are apparently buddies after Morgan won on Trump's TV show Celebrity Apprentice. Also, side note, before he left for Davos, the Wall Street Journal reports the president said he would in fact be willing to speak under oath with Robert Mueller. You know, the special counsel investigating whether or not there was any collusion with Russia or obstruction of justice. We'll see if a date for an interview gets set. The decision is in. ESPN reports a judge sentenced former USA Gymnastics team doctor Larry Nasser to 40 to 175 years in prison. She said, quote, "I just signed your death warrant." Nasser had already been sentenced to 60 years for child pornography. Remember, more than 150 girls and women said Nasser sexually abused them and testified during his sentencing. Also, Nasser had worked with Michigan State University as well as USA Gymnastics, and some victims say the university did not do enough to listen to complaints and stop the abuse. Now, the university's president is out. She just resigned. Elon Musk has agreed to what the New York Times called the, quote, boldest pay plan in corporate history. So what is it? Elon Musk says he'll work as Tesla's CEO for the next 10 years, and he won't take any pay, $0 or shares, unless he hits certain targets. Musk must meet a dozen targets that have to do with market value, revenue, and profits. And if it's a success, he'll get a whole lot of shares and make a lot of money. If not, he gets nothing. For investors, it seems like a win-win. Tesla either becomes one of the most successful companies ever, or they don't have to pay the CEO. Wired says if Musk can hit every target, he would grow Tesla's market value from $59 billion today to $650 billion. More American workers are getting some bonuses in response to the new tax law. One of the latest companies to announce new perks, Starbucks. CNBC reports Starbucks says it'll give employees raises, stock, and expanded benefits because of the tax cut savings. Disney has also said this week 125,000 employees will get an extra $1,000. And many other companies have either upped the hourly wage or given one-time bonuses to employees. They want to be clear that they like the corporate tax cut. A Toys R Us store near you could be closing. The company is shutting down 182 stores as part of its Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization plan. But it could mean some good deals before they go. USA Today reports going out of business deals are expected to start as soon as next month and last through April. You can check the full list of stores that will be shutting down in today's show notes on thenewsworthy.com. For the first time, scientists say they've cloned full-on monkeys. Chinese researchers used the same method used for the famous Dolly the sheep back in 1996. Remember that? National Geographic reports the young monkeys are genetically identical, reportedly healthy, and live in an incubator. The process has worked on other animals, but not primates until now. This is the first time. It's controversial and will likely lead to debate about cloning another primate species, humans. 12 camels were kicked out of a beauty contest in Saudi Arabia because their owners used Botox on their lips, nose, and jaw. Yes, Saudi Arabia has an annual camel beauty contest, and The Guardian reports there's one rule. It's got to be natural beauty, no Botox. It's part of a month-long festival that features up to 30,000 camels. All right, other things people may be talking about today. The next iPhone update is going to have a bunch of new features. First, TechCrunch reports iOS 11.3 will offer the Health Records app. It's meant to be a place to keep all your go-to stats and health docs like allergies, meds, lab results, all of that in one place on your phone. And some hospitals and clinics are even working with Apple to test out a way to automatically send you information and forms via that Health Records app. Apple says it will be encrypted and password protected. Also, Time reports the augmented reality software will get an upgrade, and you'll be able to do more with messages. You'll apparently be able to use messages with Apple Pay, chat with certain businesses, and schedule appointments. Finally, there will be a new setting. You'll be able to shut off the thing that slows down your phone's processor when the battery starts to get old. Remember, Apple came under fire for that one. It was meant to keep the phone from getting overworked and suddenly shutting off, but people weren't too happy Apple didn't let them know their phones were slowing down. Apple eventually apologized and offered cheaper battery replacements. Now with the new update, you'll have the option to turn that setting off. Expect the iOS 11.3 update to go out to all iPhones this spring. You may start noticing more local stuff in your Facebook feed in the future. BuzzFeed reports Facebook is testing a way to show you more local news and events. It's possibly part of that big Facebook feed revamp to get you more engaged. Meryl Streep fans, she's coming to the small screen. The Hollywood Reporter says Streep will star in season 2 of HBO's Big Little Lies. That's the one that already stars Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman. Big Little Lies took home 8 Emmys and 4 Golden Globes this year. Do you remember the show Murphy Brown? Well, either way, it's coming back. USA Today reports CBS and Warner Brothers are bringing the one-time popular comedy back. The same star, Candice Bergen, will play the role of a news magazine host, and the series plans to tackle some of today's political climate. That's it for the main news today, but it is time for 3 Question Thursday. Yes, you guessed it, 3 questions to an expert on Thursdays. And this time we're talking about the moon. I'm excited because we're talking to Tariq Malik. He's the managing editor of Space.com, which is the premier source of space exploration and astronomy news. And one of the big space stories is coming up next week on January 31st. That's next Wednesday. Space.com reports 3 things are happening all at once: a supermoon, a blue moon, and a total lunar eclipse. A supermoon is when the moon will appear slightly larger and brighter than usual. A blue moon is when there are 2 full moons in just 1 month, so that's happening this month. And a total lunar eclipse. This is also referred to as a blood moon because the moon will turn a reddish or copper color when it passes through Earth's shadow. NASA says this is the first time in more than 150 years that all 3 things will happen at once. So let's dive in and ask Tariq Malik from Space.com 3 questions about the moon. All right, so we have 3 things happening here: a supermoon, a blue moon, and a total lunar eclipse. So my first question is, why should anyone care about this?
Well, one of the easiest things to observe in the night sky, at least for me, is the moon. It's a easy way to share in a sky watching event with many people.
And there was a lot of talk about the solar eclipse, but you can't look directly at the sun. With this, you can really just look up.
The sun is, more problematic because you need special glasses or filters or special equipment if you're going to take pictures. So the moon is just really, really, really simple.
And how rare is it that some of these things happen all at the same time?
The last kind of big event we had was back in 2015 when there was a supermoon and a total lunar eclipse at that time. And the weather was really bad for most of the country at that time. So hopefully for this one, we'll be able to get a better chance. You mentioned the solar eclipse. Those are much rarer, especially to be visible from a really populated part like the 2017 solar eclipse was, where you had it cross the entire continental United States.
Okay, I have one more question. It's a slightly different one, but it still has to do with the moon. President Trump recently signed a directive telling NASA to send astronauts back to the moon. So what does that likely mean? What does that look like? And when will it happen?
Having this moon directive now gives NASA a very clear goal. So now we know that the moon is a definite goal. Landing on the moon is the goal, and having a sustained presence there is going to be the primary focus to prepare astronauts to go to Mars, which is also in the directive. Now, there isn't really a timeline or a target that is missing from this policy. And so without a timeline, it's very difficult to get things done.
Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Erica. A pleasure.
Thanks again to Tariq Malik of Space.com. If you want to know more about the upcoming super blue blood moon eclipse or the moon directive for NASA that we talked about, I've linked it all on today's show notes. Just go to thenewsworthy.com, click episodes in the upper right-hand corner, and then today's date. Of course, that's also where you'll find links to all the stories we mentioned today in case you want to read more about any of them. Thanks so much again for listening. The Newsworthy is ready for you by 4 a.m. Eastern Time every weekday. We'll be back tomorrow with more news. Have a great day.